Hello and welcome to this episode of Soulwise with me, Semele Sherry. And in this one, I had been thinking a lot about our longing to belong and how the lack of it and the pursuit of it can have such an impact on our lives, for better and worse. So I wanted to explore how and where we find it, and whether there are pointers from our past to where we perhaps lost that connection. So I started with looking at the word belong. The word long originates in Old English and means extending considerably from end to end, and lasting. So originally, belong would have meant being lasting, enduring. It was only later in the 14th century that belonging took on the sense of being a member of something, or, interestingly, being the property or possession of something or someone. And that in itself is very telling about how our values have changed, isn't it? The need to feel like you belong has its roots in deep survival instincts from way back in human history. At a basic level, if you weren't part of a larger group, then your chances of survival, of just staying alive, were drastically reduced. Being part of a group meant you were protected from danger, you had greater food hunting and gathering capability. Life was easier as you supported each other in necessary activities and responsibilities. Of course, you also had access to that greatest of human needs, social connection. Belonging to a place was just as important. When our ancestors were nomadic, then we simply belonged to the earth over which we wandered, and whom we revered as our mother. We knew where and how to find food, water, shelter, and clothing materials from the bounty the earth provided. We understood the movements of the seasons and the changes in the weather, and knew to take only what we needed from any area before we moved on. As we began to settle in one place, then we learned every detail of our chosen location. We knew it like the back of our hand and began to shape it to provide all we needed. Although we were now altering the landscape and exploiting it to a certain extent, we still felt that intimate enmeshing with it. We felt a part of it. To this day, many surnames describe the places our ancestors lived, as if the place and the people were inseparable. My own maiden name, which is Nash, means dweller by the ash tree. I'm rather fond of that. How many of us can say we know our home landscape intimately these days? Not only have we become more isolated from the earth, but also from each other. It's more usual now to live a long way from the support of family, to have no sense of participation in a community around our homes, mainly due to constraints of time and energy, to buy food easily from all over the world without the need to know how to forage or grow it where we are. So there are elements of disconnection here. So I began to connect many of the problems and issues in the world right now with this departure from that sense of belonging, and a concurrent, desperate need to grasp at a semblance of it at any cost. The Israel-Palestine war raging at the moment is rooted in the need to belong to a homeland, which is disputed by both sides as their sole property and possession. Political party membership and support allows you to belong through shared views on how a country should be managed, and very often protected from perceived external threat. These types of belonging create division where one country, party or race is wrong and the other is right. I speak more of this in my poem, Love Bomb. Where energy is king, where money is king rather, then the company you work for exerts a huge power and influence on your life. As a result, you may feel obliged to try and belong when and where you don't, or even don't want to. You can force yourself to fit into a structure and limit your self-expression in exchange for security, protection, survival, a kind of certainty in a very uncertain world, however uncomfortable that is. Belonging has been a motivating theme in my life, moving me around the UK, in and out of groups of various sorts, honing my way of living and being to see what feels best. On moving here to West Wales, I actually named our cottage Perthyn, which is Welsh for belonging. I do love this particular location and can imagine myself remaining here. In reality, though, like so much else on the spiritual path, I think I named it that because by that time I finally understood that belonging can never be found externally. It's not rooted in a location or a tribe. It's found within me as a state of being, and it's been there all the time. As a human, I belong to the earth, to the universe, to the cosmos. My body is made of stardust and a combination of the same elements that make up all life on this planet and beyond. I am part of the web of life, and as a cell in its organism, it's impossible for me to be separate from it. Just as I can't imagine my hand existing separately from my arm. The question is whether I accept, feel, and know this to be true. As eternal spirit, I'm part of Source, the loving consciousness and life force that creates and permeates all things. I individuate in this body so I can experience a human existence with its necessary degree of felt separation, and I return to the oneness at my death with the unique knowing I've assimilated during that lifetime. Once I truly grasped this, my connection to earth and my connection to spirit, I no longer felt alone or that I didn't or couldn't belong. We all carry within us the memory of that divine unity from which we originally emerge, consciously or unconsciously. You can spend a lifetime chasing that unity while you're here on earth through relationships, jobs, achievements and recognition, and none of those things will ever replicate that sublime at one with feeling you remember deep within you. That can only come through rediscovering the part of you that's part of the divine, to fully accept, know, and be who you truly are. You cannot make yourself belong to something or somewhere outside of yourself. You just need to realize that you already belong, no matter where you are or the people who surround you. Think about that for a moment and imagine how drastically that could change human interaction in every circumstance. I can't imagine there being talk of mass deportation, the pursuit of war, persecution of any kind of difference, or abuse of the earth, if everyone knew and felt this acceptance and belonging in their bones. Open yourself up to connection with your immediate environment, wherever you're living. Even if it feels far from ideal to you, you can be in relationship to the life you see and sense around you. Trees, animals, sky, wind, water, earth and fire, they are a part of you as you are a part of them. I greet and communicate with all the life I encounter around me every day, from spider or snail to the sun when it blesses us with its bright face. I've long let go of worrying about how that might look to other people. Explore ways that enable you to experience more fully a relationship with the life and consciousness that extends far beyond you and encompasses every living being. It doesn't matter what you call it, God, Goddess, Source, Great Spirit, or just life, or how you choose to do it. There are so many wonderful and varied practices that have been tried and tested by others and are freely described in books and articles. You can find some here in my blog. What matters is that you feel and know that interdependent presence within you and linking you to every other living being. Decide to become the belonging you already are. You belong to earth. You belong to spirit. You belong to life. You belong to yourself. After I'd written this, I was curious about what others have said about the longing to belong. I'll leave you with some of their insightful words, which seem to chime, not surprisingly, with my own thoughts. Maya Angelou said during an interview, "You are only free when you realize you belong no place. You belong every place, no place at all. The price is high. The reward is great." Brené Brown says, "True belonging never asks us to change who we are. True belonging requires us to be who we are." John O'Donoghue says, "The heart of the matter. You should never belong fully to something that is outside yourself." And finally, I'd like to share this beautiful poem by David Whyte. It's called The House of Belonging. I awoke this morning in the gold light, turning this way and that, thinking for a moment it was one day like any other. But the veil had gone from my darkened heart, and I thought it must have been the quiet candlelight that filled my room. It must have been the first easy rhythm with which I breathed myself to sleep. It must have been the prayer I said, speaking to the otherness of the night. And I thought, this is the good day you could meet your love. This is the black day someone close to you could die. This is the day you realize how easily the thread is broken between this world and the next. And I found myself sitting up in the quiet pathway of light, the tawny, close-grained cedar burning round me like fire, and all the angels of this housely heaven ascending through the first roof of light the sun has made. This is the bright home in which I live. This is where I ask my friends to come. This is where I want to love all the things it has taken me so long to learn to love. This is the temple of my adult aloneness, and I belong to that aloneness as I belong to my life. There is no house like the house of belonging. Isn't that truly beautiful? And that speaks to a place deep within me. And I answer it with my own sense of belonging. So that's it for this episode. Sending you as always my love and blessings. Greeting you from my aloneness to your aloneness. Knowing that we are not separate. That we are always connected. Always part of each other. Until next time, goodbye for now.